Hi, my name is Joshua. I'm with Blue Phoenix Creative, and I was on Google and I put in construction companies in Plainville, Mass, and you showed up in a sponsored ad here next to the three pack. And I wanted to kind of like talk about how you can improve your return on ad spend, ROAS as it's called. And so to kind of give you a simple idea of this, you know, if you are converting or if your click through rate is 1%, right? And you improve your click-through rate to 2%, then Google has to put uses less, ad spots, and therefore your costs are going to be lower initially. So in a similar sense, right? Like your website is another way to do that because if you're converting 1% to leads on your website and then you start converting 2% suddenly, with some changes, then now you've doubled the impact and you need less traffic in order to get the same number of leads, right? So again, your costs go down. And so I wanted to kind of look at some options for like how you can structure things to kind of get a better return. But I'm going to focus on the website end. Actually, the ad itself isn't bad. That looks pretty good. Okay. So so the first thing that I notice is it's quite cluttered, right? There's a lot going on here visually, and there's a lot of information, and so the mindset of a lot of businesses is to put information. Let me give the customer all the information they need and let them like make a decision based on that. And in practice, it doesn't really work that way. They tend to become a little bit overwhelmed. And a marketing principle is a confused mind always says no, right? And the younger the demographic that you're targeting, the more true that is. So a lot of people buying their first homes and things like that, and they need renovations and whatnot. That's going to be something that you're going to want to position yourself for to handle that that type of response where people click out, and so that's a little bit of what I want to talk about. So in general, I would say with the header, you should make it probably shorter, so that you have more visual real estate vertically. Um, and then there is really just a lot of information in here, and including a lot of information in the navigation and things like that. I do like that you have a contact form, above the fold. That's good. Um, not always necessary, but good. So I'm going to look at this website, which I found earlier today, and the background is very visually stunning. It kind of goes back to what I was saying about creating more room here. Another thing to notice is that like it's a fully like finished room, and kitchens and bathrooms tend to present really well, right? Um, and whereas like with a floor, it's harder to kind of get that same pizzazz, in that image. And it's not that the work is bad. It's just that floors are less interesting than like ornate kitchens, so to speak. So you look at this and you see like the marble countertops. You see the backsplash. You see you like all that is just like, oh yeah, it's really inviting, and it really captures the user's interest, and helps them stay on the site longer, right? You buy those few seconds you need to help get them to start looking around, and it's immediately more inviting. So in design, graphic design, website design, there's a principle of called like eye direction, or the eye path. And so when a user looks at this website, they see the background first. It's the big visual element, that really draws them in. But then up here, there's this triangle, and while this triangle may look a little bit bulky and unnecessary, like maybe they don't even need it, it actually helps to draw the eye here second. So they see this is what we do, this is who we are, and so that helps, and it's very clean, right? It's not cluttered. It gives a visual representation, and then shows who they are, and then this is the next thing, right? They come down and discover an easier path to remarkable results. And it doesn't say uh, what the remarkable result is. That's the beauty of this statement is it's kind of open-ended. So if you imagine like a line out here where the user gets to put in what they are looking for, and as they read that, when they read remarkable results, they're automatic. They know what their project is, right? Like they're already plugging, my new bath, like that. That's our like, my new addition, whatever. That they're already filling that stuff out, right? And so it's helping them to go down their journey of this process, and that's really like what the goal of your website should be. I think a lot of people, if they're in person, they tend to be more consultative in their sales process, right? And it's like, that's why a lot of people close better in person, because they do these psychological and communicative methodologies to get to where the customer needs to be, and to help them feel comfortable and to guide them and all that. But when it comes to their website, they tend to think of it more like a billboard, and so that's problematic, because then you don't get that psychological and relational. You're not starting to build that relationship. It's just like, here's what we do, here's our information, service, 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 bye, 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 and then it's not really helping them to go down their journey. And there's a principle in marketing called the buyer's journey and the buyer's story, and you want to, like, the story is all about them, and the communication on your website should be all about them. But it should also position you as the expert or the guide or the mentor or the partner who's going to help them achieve the result they're looking for, right? So that's really where you want to position yourself from a marketing communication standpoint. And so when they read this, they're filling that out. And if there's any doubt, like, there's this stuff down here, and then the I kind of comes up here to schedule a call, and then they kind of go over this. So that's kind of like the I flow, or the I path. And more along the lines of, discovering, or like kind of communicating with them about their story and their journey. This part is the prepositional that, discover a partner that you can trust. So that's, again, the positioning piece for the company. And then this is to bring your vision to life, and so that's making your role as like the contractor fit with their vision and their journey and their story. And you're starting to almost like come alongside them and guide them to their destination. So and if you look at further into this communication, you see a lot more of that. So we understand that choosing the right home professional to build your dream space can be a daunting task. So that's like confirming, we know how you feel, and we understand because you've dealt with people just like you. And you need the knowledge to make the best decisions. So if they didn't know that, now they do. For your home, and feel secure in your partnership with your contractor. So now it's like, you've already kind of started making them feel comfortable, with the communication up here and everything, right? And then and then it's like, now you're kind of like calling that out. You want to feel secure in your partnership with your contractor. And RWC will help you navigate every step of the process to build a space that reflects, who you are. And then this, again, this piece is, again, the positioning. It's basically echoing what was set up here. Actually, discover a partner you can trust. RWC will help you navigate every step of the process. It's a very similar type of format. And then to build the space that reflects who you are. So now it's all about them again, right? And so you're bringing them back to them being the hero in the story, and you being the guide or the partner. And then they have trust indicators, and then they have this, we listen. If they somehow missed that with all the other communication, it's down here, with over 30 years of experience, yada, yada. We listen, we know who you are. We've dealt with customers like you, and, this isn't our first rodeo. We inform, so we're educational, and that kind of ties back into, we understand that choosing the right, like all that communication is like, is helping them to feel comfortable, right? And then we deliver. And then another thing they do really good is, like a lot of times it's not just construction, but a lot of different businesses, like it's like we want them to call or fill out a contact form, and so from the user's standpoint, though, like 30% or more of your users who come onto your website, they may be just researching. they might not want to pick up the phone and call. They might not feel comfortable just calling because they don't know all the questions they want to ask, and things like that. Um, so it really kind of puts them in a bad place, right? Because it's either call us, which is something that you're not really ready to do, or reach out, which you're not really ready to do at all, and or you leave. And so that's like the polar opposites, right? And so what this company does really a good job of is they have kind of a middle ground, right? It's like get inspired with RWC, so which really communicates like we know you're still kind of looking, right? So here's some like projects we did, and you can design, you can kind of look at this and get an idea, and that's very like helpful. It's helpful. It helps them get through their journey. Again, it's um, positioning yourself as a partner, as a guide, as somebody that's able to help them down the process of this thing that they've never done before, right? And so that's like the beauty of like a case study. And then at the same time, you paid for the click to your website. So instead of just giving them that polar opposite of hey, leave or contact us, it's like hey, just give us your email for now, and we'll at least have it. We can remarket to you or whatever. Um, and then and then they get their case study, and maybe they'll call you, or maybe you can have sales reach out, or you can figure out what the best method is to handle that type of situation. But if you have something like this, at least you're not like losing potential contacts, right? So it's making the most of those marketing dollars that you're putting into your ad spend. And if you're tracking, I'm not going to get too much into this, but if you're using like a platform like HubSpot, you can track where somebody came onto your website 3 months ago, and then like 3 months later they are back on your website, and it'll let you know like the first interaction you had on their website, and they downloaded this guide and all. And so there's some more elaborate tools that you can put in place down the road. I'm not saying that you necessarily need to do that. It is a good idea, but you can get like as in depth as you want to with your marketing these days online, because there's a lot of options. So yeah, so this website, like I would like to see, like help you to, get that like this. And you don't need to use me. This is my free gift to you to, in terms of, marketing, understanding what's happening on your website and why you might not be converting as highly as you would like to on your ads. But yeah, so I want to go over your website specifically real quick. Now that we kind of have like a base model of like what we should be looking for. So one thing, and I'm just going to go to branding real quick, because if you look at my process, it's strategy, branding, marketing, and web design. And I don't always follow it in that order, because sometimes customers want this or that. But in general, I'm going to address the branding first. The logo is very complicated. And so, if you think about like, really high, like well done, high end or well done, not so high end, but well done marketing, like if you think of like Nike, like, it's a swoosh. It's very simple, right? It's like, it's that iconic sense that people recognize Nike by, and there's, a lot of brands like that, the Coca-Cola font, various, icons, just there's that, it's simple, and logos typically, should be simple. So, I would probably say something like, just, well, you have RORHI, so remodel or renew, home improvement. There could be like a simpler version with a simpler iconic type feeling to that. And then another thing is like making it match with the background. So what I typically do, if we have like a dark background or something on the header, is we'll probably use like a white, and we would make the logo work in all white, like something like that. And I would definitely say like it would use a redesign. I don't think this is absolutely 100% something you have to do. Like you can get by with the logo, right? It's not something that's gonna make or break, like your overall. So tackle that when you want to, type thing. But I would recommend that. And then there's a lot of like navigation up here, which again, like I mentioned before, Confused Mind says no. And then there's just kind of a lot going on. Request an estimate, read our reviews. And we got building memories twice. And then down here is really kind of packed in. And this again is all about like what you do, but not so much about what the customer gets out of it, or why they, it's not reaffirming like those reasons that they, are and the company that does that will almost certainly get a better result. Um, but you do have good trust indicators here, which is great. And your phone number is hyperlinked. This one's not, but this one is. Yeah, and so you could hyperlink that. That's another suggestion because especially on a mobile phone or a tablet. Well, not so much a tablet, although it could be. Somebody calls with Skype, but even on a desktop, like if I click this, it's going to want to open, um, you know, my open phone app. So, it wants to call on my headset right now. And so even on desktop, like people do that, which, some people aren't maybe aware of, but, um, and I think just really like restructuring the page and guiding them through like a journey. And I would recommend putting like kind of everything you do instead of like maybe packing all this in up here. Is from Montpellier reviews. So you could put about and reviews underneath, and then like again like there's double reviews there and reviews there, and then reviews here. So we have reviews 3 times on the page, and it's just a lot of redundancy. And even the request estimate is kind of like there's like 2. So does that take me to a page? Yeah. So like cleaning all this up, I think makes people a little bit more likely to stay. And a lot of this information is like stuff that you can put in later, right? Like they don't necessarily need to know, especially this bit here, right away. And then a lot of people are not going to read, and so I think these type of ideas and stuff are something that you can, or like window siding, decks, paver stones and patio, basement remodeling. Like all that stuff can be listed down here. Like the next thing is like, this is what we do. So this is who we are and who you like, what you're, why you're here, and discovering that, and then like, I would probably go into, a little bit like what we do, just so they know, like just like a short little bit, like, and not text, but like icons or something like that. Just a list even. And again, kind of looking at this, it's kind of like this. Like that's a real short, that gives them a quick idea, right? And then it's right back to all about them, and then kind of restructure the whole page that way. But yeah, so I think that's kind of a good overview. I think if you can do something like that, you'll definitely increase your profitability with your ads. There's 2 other things. One is to do targeted ads. So if you're like for construction companies, it's fine to land on something like oh, see, this says basement remodeling. Actually, I didn't even notice that before. Yeah, so this is a little bit more immersive, but it's still a lot of the same issues, right? A lot of the same clutter. Although I think it's a little more spaced out here. But it's all about like the company. Yeah, so it's all about, here's what we do. This is who we are. Like reach out, and I think it should reflect more of who the customer is. In your communication. Again, this is really good. I didn't see this before. For some reason, I thought it was on the homepage. Yeah, so I mean, those are some ideas. The other thing is like, if you're going to like basement remodeling and in Worcester also, so like I put in Plainville, so I'm showing up for something that isn't even really relevant. Although most of the communication on the page that I saw doesn't really say Worcester. So yeah, so I mean, for one thing, you're going to show up in SEO and Google if you actually put Worcester into the page, and actually target the SEO in there. But in general, like if I'm putting in Plainville, Mass, it's okay for it to show up like a general construction page, but like we have like a mismatching, like you're paying for an ad that's sending something from Plainville to, and so if you're going to send somebody to something that has like a town name in it, you need to make it mandatory that the town name is listed in, in the search terms. So it's like must be. So you probably want to tighten your focus. And then if you want to do something where it's like, construction companies like near me or something, like, then you can send them to the homepage, and then it's not as much of an issue. And then if you're trying to like do specific basement remodeling, then you could kind of add that as a keyword, and then do like a basement remodeling page without Worcester or any other town, and then now you're hitting people on like with what they're, so it's much more targeted. You're gonna get a better result typically. So and it also allows you to talk more specifically about that thing, right? So which you did actually. So but the problem is like I may not be looking for a basement remodel. I just put in construction companies. I might be looking for a kitchen, and then I hop in here and I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't what I want. And you paid for the click, so Google got their money. So these are the type of things I would recommend cleaning up, right? One other thing with the phone number, right? So there is a way to track. So it's easy to track, like, and I don't know that you're tracking them, but if somebody tracks if you're tracking your form, somebody fills out a form and it sends a message, you should be tracking that inside of Google Ads. If you're not, then Google Ads does not know what a conversion looks like. It doesn't. So that's a problem, because people who are willing to buy, you want to get their demographic information. You want Google to know who they are, because you want Google to send you more people like that, and that's going to drive your costs down over time as more and more data populates inside your ad account. And then the problem a lot of people have is like, well, what do I do with my phone number? Okay. And so there's a service called CallRail, and what happens is it will go through your site, it'll look for your phone number, and if somebody comes from organic listings, meaning like one of these or somewhere down here, it will show up with one phone number. It'll replace your phone number, and it'll still ring to this number, but it'll put a different number in, and then if they click your ad, it would put even a different number in. And then they would all get forwarded to your main number, okay? And the benefit of that is they can now track where the call came from. Like, did it come from a Google ad? Did it come from an email campaign? Did it come from a billboard we decided to put up? Like, did it come from a flyer that we had, handed out? Or, you can track with different phone numbers, and then it allows you to get a better idea of what is working. So if you know what's working, you can replicate that to get a consistent result. Right. So if you don't know what's working, you don't know where your sales, like you might know where your leads are coming from, but which ones are actually converting to sales. That's a whole different, that's a whole different thing. So, so tracking all that and being able to get like a better idea, at least initially, of where the leads are coming from, that's the first step. And then later on, you can implement something like HubSpot, and you can say, okay, well, we got X amount of leads from, or all the leads that came through Google, they converted at like 60%, and we had a really good, day with Google ads, or whatever, or SEO, or whatever the case may be. But being able to identify that says, okay, now we know it's worth it to pour the marketing dollars back into there, because we know that that's driving sales. So, so yeah, so I mean, this is kind of this might be a lot to digest, but in one shot, but I'm always available to hop on a call, or I can become available at some point. So this is my website, the agency website, bluehavenphoenix.net, and you can go on here and kind of figure out, our process and stuff like that. My contact information's on there, 857-209-4495. You can text or call. And sales@bluehavenphoenix.net. You can email, or you can set up a strategy session with me, and we can kind of go over more specific stuff, take a look at your ads account, that type of thing, talk about, website changes you might be interested in, and, maybe, there's a principle called the Kaizen principle. It's a Japanese principle, but it means basically, tackling one thing every day or one thing every so often to get a consistently paced towards your goal. So when it comes to your, your website, we might clean up something here, clean up something there, change something here, change something there, and like over time, it gets better and better, and you're moving towards where you want to be. And a lot of people look at their website like, oh, it's this thing I have to deal with every 3 to 5 years, but it's really something where it should be an integral part of your sales process, right? And so making changes in a Kaizen type, here and there as we go type, model, like that's really kind of the way to do it. So so you see those improvements, and you make a change, and then you kind of see maybe some results, and then or maybe a series of changes, like like maybe cleaning up the overall layout and the verbiage on the homepage might be like one project, right? And then from there we can kind of like look at maybe doing something else, maybe putting in tracking for your forms, tracking for your phone numbers, that type of thing, so that we can feed that data back into Google, and then they know who's actually converting, so that they send better prospects. So, let me know if there's anything you want to kind of go over, or if you have any questions, or if you want to do something with this. Because you're paying for the ads anyway, right? So if we can maximize that, that's all the better in the end. So. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with you. All right, have a good day.